My brothers and my sisters, whoa, welcome once again to Black Men Declare. I am the Godfather, sitting here Mike's side with my brothers, Cyber Aki and Dr. William Tell. We welcome you once again to Black Men Declare, where we come with an intent and express purpose to share with you from the black male perspective. We oftentimes beat up and beat down, and rarely do we have an opportunity to come together and share how we see life in America and around the world. Yes, we have been mistreated, we have been abused, and yet through it all, we maintain a high level of commitment to family and to the preservation of our people. We thought we'd come tonight and just chat a little bit amongst the brothers, not to take up a lot of your time, but to share about the dysfunctionality of America itself. Some of you are probably scratching your head and wondering what's going on and why is this happening and why is that happening. You're seeing so many things are going on. People are tripping on the Epstein files, the Sean Combs files, and people are asking the question, why is it that whenever anything is executed in America, there seems to be a prevalent and obvious misapplication or dysfunctionality put in place that will cause a black man not to be treated the same way as his European counterpart? So we want to chat just briefly about that this evening on the dysfunctionality. See, when you think in terms of functional seems to imply things that go together, they come together, they operate smoothly, everything is in place, it's all occurring at the same time. Yet for some reason in America, we seem to be operating on a high level of dysfunctionality. So we want to chat about that in general. And in weeks to come, we want to get deeply involved in other subject matter that are cast offs that are also attached to this concept of being dysfunctional. Now, when we think about each one of us as individuals, we know that we may have had times when we were dysfunctional. We just didn't operate to our best for whatever reason it may have been. And yet someone could come along and may say a positive word, may say a word of encouragement. We may then begin to see and understand I must become more functional with what I do. All right. Well, we're going to ask our brothers to come in and share tonight. What do they see? I'm talking about dysfunctionality all over the place. I'm talking about in the legal system, in the political system, in the educational system, in the hospitalization system, everything, educational system. But we can't cover all of it tonight. But we just want to hit the high levels tonight and lay a foundation for what we're going to pursue in days, weeks, and months to come. So, my brother Cyber Aki, what's on your heart? I mean, how do you see? I know we've chatted about these things sometimes in our just short, quiet times together. But what is your perspective on this high level of dysfunctionality taking place in America?
Peace to my brothers and my colleagues in this fight for truth, freedom, justice, and equality. Good to be on with my brothers tonight. And I feel like America, and not only America, but the world, is at a crossroads on how to move forward. With everything going on, you have the wars between Israel, Iran, Israel, Pakistan, Palestine. You have Russia, Ukraine. America seems to want to dictate how other countries, other sovereign nations move and countries like China is standing up and saying, "Hey, we're not going to allow that." With the formation of the BRICS nations, and um, we really at a crossroad. But we dial back a little bit and come to America itself. America is really at a crossroad. You have a president who seems to want chaos around him at all times, and his end game is to blame somebody else at all times, never taking responsibility for the things that he's doing. And when he says one thing previously, but then now he's in office, and now all of a sudden the Epstein files are on lock. You don't want them released. Is it because that he is a prime suspect in those lists? Um, when people start asking for the files to release, all of a sudden he brings up Barack Obama, and he had Tulsi Gabbard to Tulsi, however you pronounce her name, to come on and accuse Obama of treason. Those are not light words. Those are not light words. But if you have somebody that's so intentional on blaming other people, it just sets us up for a bad few years with this president is in office. You're on mute, brother.
I think one of the things, first of all, greetings to our sisters and to our brothers. When I think about the dysfunctionality, one of the areas that I think about is our legal system, where they have this president has decided that what he writes, his executive orders, are law, which is totally against what our Constitution stands for. It is, as we always understand, that there are lawmakers, that we have House of Representatives and Congress people, and then we have the executive branch, and then we have the judicial. And it seems like and it's supposed to be a triumph where one checks and balances, but it seems like they have allowed the congressional and the judicial has allowed the executive branch, this president 47, to just do whatever he wants to do. Now, it's not surprising because he said that he wanted to, not directly, but wanted to be a dictator. He said that if he was elected, then we would not need a election system again. So it goes without saying that one of the issues that I see the dysfunctionality of America is based upon its legal system, allowing this man to write. Again, executive orders are not laws. They're not laws. They're just the wishes of the president. But he has convinced people that these are laws, and as the president, then they ought to be followed to the T. So that's just one area of dysfunctionality I see that America is suffering.
Beautiful, brothers, in those opening statements. And when we think about this functionality of America, I mean, it came from the beginning. I mean, we've chatted about these briefly before, that you cannot be functional when you have a percentage of your inhabitants not being able to operate freely and without reproach, and being viewed as and considered chattel property. It's not possible. Right there, you are being dysfunctional because you are not allowing the fullness of your population to execute itself at its higher level of physical, spiritual, and mental execution. We had a system put in place here where we were for lack of a better term, being bred to be enemies of intelligence. And yet we should all feel good that our ancestors were able, despite all of that dysfunction. Think about it. It's dysfunctional to say you have chattel property that's not able to read and write. And then you have laws. You create laws that say it's illegal to teach them to read and write. Wouldn't you want to improve your investment? When we think of investment today, we think in terms of how do I improve this investment? What can I do to extract more value from it? What can we do to drive more profit to the bottom line? And so you're looking for all of the so-called best practices. You're looking for all of the ways that may be generated in some kind of brainstorming or brain scripting from people that may come together and work together. And yet, we see even today, and those things that's taking place even at the high school and the collegiate level around areas in these United States of America, an attempt not to allow Black boys and Black girls to reach their fullest potential. So something is wrong with that there, because you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You are saying that you want to invite in immigrants that will be able to build and be able to make the nation stronger. Yet those people that are right here already in the nation, you are passing laws that would undermine, that would not allow them to become all they could be simply because they don't have the same opportunity and information and systems in the digital world. Let's say, for example, that students that may be in other parts of a city or other parts of a state. My brother Cyber Aki, share with us, if you will, the value of a young Black, let's say boys today, let's keep it on that. The value of a young Black boy learning and being exposed to the intricacies, yet the fulfillment of learning how to get his hands wet in digital technology.
That's a powerful and loaded question. I always felt like the digital or information systems and or computer technology or whatever you want to say. I always felt like it was the great equalizer. Even going to school in that arena and seeing young men go from being baggage clerks to making over $150,000, $200,000 in less than a year. I always felt like it was the equalizer. But as I got deeper into it, I found that it is an equalizer. It can set you and your family up real good. But some of the we are at the a lot of times we get into these arenas and we don't always go above and beyond um, to maximize every opportunity that we have in these areas. Just like I read something recently, like the number of Black folks that are experimenting with AI or are in the room with the creation of these products or these engines are very low, and that's quite concerning. That we are not at the table when it comes to the implementation of these AI systems and how it trains itself to learn about things. We don't have the big seats in these arenas. It is definitely something to be concerning about. But technology, if we do it right, Black people, it still can be the greatest equalizer that the world has seen. And I give credit to the young brother Ben X, who opened a trade school in Atlanta here recently, and one of the major components is AI, which he, from what I read, partnered with Microsoft to bring that tech, to get Black people more involved in the AI aspect, not just being users, but being creators and thought leaders in that space. So I continue to believe, and I will continue to believe, that it is the greatest equalizer. But as Black people, we have to do better with getting bigger seats at these tables.
That's powerful, my brother. And because we do need to get to the table, we so often want to put everything in a box, and that breeds dysfunctionality. When we try to put everything in a box, we try to think everybody's got to be a basketball player, everybody's got to be a football player, everybody's got to be a tennis player, everybody's got to do something in the world of sports. But we need to break out of that world of sports. We've had great people that's achieved great things, yet we want to see to always push everybody. Now, don't get it twisted. I played sports all my life, enjoyed competition and all of that. But at the end of the day, we got to have a much broader portfolio. We got to be able and be willing to learn new and different things. Dr. Tell, when you think about dysfunctionality from a standpoint of just how things are executed in let's say in DC versus say other parts of America. Here you got the situation in DC where you're not. I don't even know what you are. You're not a state. Are you a city? I mean, what are you? You out there like on a broken limb somewhere. We know we have people that come there and they meet and they make laws, and you have people that come there and they debate things or whatever. But that seems to be a level of dysfunction in and of itself. Everybody said we're going to turn DC into a state, and whatever happens, the Democrats get the majority, nothing happens. Why is, and now we hear that the president 47 is saying, oh, maybe we should take over. Some of the senators, certain senators are saying we should take over. What is it? I mean, why is it that you have these Black mayors, yet you don't seem to have right now, at least, an increase in the Black population? It seems like gentrification is even taking place in the nation's capital, and you've got these people slowly coming in and the Black folks slowly moving out. What's going on with that, brother? That's dysfunction in my book.
Excuse me. On the first subject, we are what is called a city. We're not even necessarily a territory. We house all the heads of the government agencies. Pretty much, if they're not actually in Washington, D.C., they're right outside of D.C. When it comes to the dysfunctionality, one of the things that we have just recently experienced is due to the Elon Musk Doge or Dodge, is depending on how you want to pronounce it, their office coming in and riffing, meaning reduction in workforce. They actually just told people, we no longer need your services. And for that, you have you have 30 minutes to get your belongings. Now, with that, they cause a lot of chaos, a lot of panic. They told whole divisions on one of the issues that they are experiencing now, and is the fact that they now don't have enough people in the federal government to do the work, to even maintain the work that they were currently doing. When you look at what's going on, even with our leadership in the city, in the nation's capital, we have a mayor and then we have council people. And in that, our budget is still given from Congress. At one time in the 70s, we had, even though we had a mayor and we had a Congress, they had no power. And the way that this administration is trying to do now, due to the attitudes of the mayor and the Congress, of the council, city council, that is, he is now trying to talk to Congress and say, listen, they don't deserve to rule themselves. They need us as Congress, as the president, to rule over them. We are one of the highest areas that are taxed. We are some of the highest revenue makers, and some of the, we were at one time, the workforce was great. But as I said, being RIF and gentrification has definitely taken over the city.
You're on mute, brother. Okay.
Someone that has been there and lived their entire lives, it must be somewhat disconcerting to see what's taking place around the city. You know, when you think about, you know, Howard University and all of the great things that have happened there. You know, we were chatting the other day about the dysfunction of even the Supreme Court, and how some of the thinkers on that court seem to have lost their way in jurisprudence and understanding what the concept of fairness may be about. But this last thing, perhaps we could chat just briefly. We know we're touching the surface, and we'll come back and get much deeper later on, is that in somewhere around 1950, Dwight Eisenhower made a statement that we need to be careful of the military-industrial complex. And I know that, you know, even though some of us are in our 70s, we still may not have even been around when that statement was made. But when we look around the world today, we see where the military-industrial complex has played an extremely important role in America becoming the theoretical alleged global power that it is. That with the ability to speak one language. The one language capability, I believe, is the number one thing that enabled America in a very quick order become the number one economy, the number one military power in the world. And yet, even with that, we can see the dysfunction in the application of military execution. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a military person. So what all I say, I'm speaking from a standpoint of the researcher. But in my research, I discovered that America, the policeman of the world, the nation that brings peace to everywhere, that there's no other nation since 1950 that's bombed more nations than the United States of America. There's no other nation that sold more arms than the United States of America. There's no nation, and this may not be military, but it just still shows the prowess that creates pornography activity than the United States of America. So now when we begin to look at regime changes, there's no nation that's created or influenced more regime changes than the United States of America. So my brothers, Cyber Archie, how do we then as citizens reconcile this dysfunctionality that we supposed to be the home of the land, home of the free, home of the brave, and land of the free, and all of this? Yet everything that we seem to have done on a global basis, we either plant a base in a country, 180, my understanding, or we're setting up somebody that does not adhere to our desired outcome and strategy for them to fail. And with the most recent, what we are still to this day, I'm trying to understand, we bombed Iran. And Iran, again, according to the research, has not invaded a country for over 200 years. And yet we would tell our American public that we needed to bomb Iran for national security interests. Come on, my brother. What's on your heart with that?
Well, I see it as two problems. First, as the one how you eloquently stated, as far as us planting bases all over the world, trying to dictate sovereign countries and how they move. But the biggest issue I see right now is that we have a military tied to a guy that's unstable in all his ways. And we have seen that the military generals, colonels, lieutenants, they don't question leadership. And that's a danger to have a man in the White House that's unstable like Donald J. Trump and to have the most powerful military at his tips. That's very dangerous. And we can see already with what he did in California some months ago by sending the National Guard there when the governor didn't ask, the mayor didn't ask, but to show his power, he wanted to send them, and he did exactly that. Not only that, then he wanted to have a parade to showcase, America's might. Like, that's dangerous. And that's always been a challenge of mine to want to understand why don't the military generals think outside the box sometimes. It's not good to be in a position where you have the powerfulest tools that the world has ever seen and you don't even question what you're using them for. That's a danger to me.
Very dangerous. And you mentioned something, and this is going to be our last piece, Dr. Tell, to piggyback on what Cyber Akeem mentioned, is that what was the parade like, this 4th of July parade, that I guess also was a birthday party? I mean, did you go? Were you on the
I,
sidelines?
I was not there. I purposely made it a point not to be in town. But
Okay.
from what I did see, because I did view it and then I looked at videos, I don't believe, honestly, that all of the participants in the parade were actual military people. I have very little, but I do have some experience with the military, and I know how to give orders. I know how to receive orders. I know when marching and what rhythmatic marching looks like. And the people that was in the parade were just looked like they was just taking a walk, like there was a group of people. Now I can tell you also, because I've seen it firsthand, that there was a ad in in the news, and not in the news, but in the newspapers and in some ads that was going around saying, "We need you, or if we will be willing to pay you if you will wear red, white, and blue and come and be a part of this parade." It was $1,500, and you had to volunteer. You had to sign up. You had to tell them what you was going to wear, and then they say, "Okay, you have to participate in this parade." It's unfortunate that when we talk about all that was going on, these people made it a point to reach out and try to pay people to be a part of this parade. And it's a shame. It doesn't make any sense that you will have people that are supposed to be able to march or be a part of this parade, but because no one, and we know that his rating, presidential rating, is very low, and the turnout for the parade was very low also. But according to him, it was a great number of people, and it was a great parade, and it was such a good showing of people. As we always know, it was a big lie.
It was a big, beautiful parade. I mean, like the big, beautiful bill, big, beautiful parade. I mean, brothers, I've enjoyed chatting with you tonight, and it's been a great time. And we hope our listening audience enjoyed this, and we're going to be back more often than not. But we've got a lot of dysfunctional activity going on in America. America, it's where we were born. It's where so many people try to get to every day. It's why we have this southern border, this northern border. It's why we do our best to create a legal pathway to people that want to come to America. But I want you all to remember this very important thing. Many of us, include myself, I was born in the state of Mississippi, offspring of slaves. And we know that many of us from the loins of Europeans, we're not proud of it, but it's a fact. And so we are a special select people. And it's like Claude Anderson said many times, if there should be any special things done for any citizen of today, it should be for Black folks in America. Now, we know and understand from history how we were set on a path ourselves to dysfunction. And that dysfunction, most of the time, as our brother alluded to earlier, was to take on and embrace the very things that will cause us to self-destruct. It's dysfunctional for us to embrace systems that undermine our capability. It's dysfunction for us to accommodate in everything that we do. I remember I was part of desegregation in 1968. And being part of that desegregation in 1968, we were very proud to go into those predominantly white schools in the public sector to prove that we could compete academically, to prove that we could compete athletically. And see, so many of us, we have become lost. People don't realize, they don't seek out who are those people that was part of that 1968 order to desegregate not only school systems in America, but lunch countertops and sleeping places and everywhere else. Before then, the dysfunction of this so-called great place, if you was traveling over the highways, there were towns that you should not stop at called Sundown Town. There were places I remember going back down south after moving to Detroit that you just didn't stop. You packed your lunch so you could make it without stopping except for gas on some interstate highway. But I'd like for our brothers to come back and just give couple closing, real brief closing comments. Is that what are we going to do? Because we got to have some forms of at least strategy for even leveraging and getting around the dysfunction of the macro system. And as we move into the micro, what can we do as Black men in America to make a difference? Come on, my brother, Cyber Key.
For me, I think we have to continue to teach the younger generations to make sure that they are all in on the freedom, justice, and equality of Black people. And we have to keep educating ourselves on whatever technologies that are going to be ruling the world in the next 100 years. We have to be at the top. We have to be major players in that atmosphere. We can't have Sam Altman. We can't have Elon Musk. We can't have Jeff Bezos. We can't have uh, 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 Tim Cook from Apple. We can't have them or Zuckerberg, and you not name one black person that has a similar technology. Now, I think that's why they try to keep us from the Nigerians and from people in Africa, because now when you go to Nigeria, there are some major power players. But see, they need us and we need them. And I think that's the next wave of us figuring out how to bridge that gap between Black Americans and our brothers in Nigeria and Ghana and Kenya and South Africa. We have to bridge those gaps because there are some major players in those markets over there because they grew up on only seeing black people as the top in their country. So we have to bridge that gap, and I think we could help each other in this next 50 years to catapult ourselves in those same atmospheres as the Zuckerbergs and Altman and Elon Musk. So I think that's the major points that we have to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that one of the things that we have to do is go back to what helped us in the early 19th century or 21st century, rather, or 20th century, when we looked out for each other, when we bargained and borrowed from each other, how we looked out for each other, how we established black towns and black businesses and supported one another before spending our money outside of our black businesses. We also need to get back to the place of inventing again, where even if we are not the creator, we can always improve whatever creation we get our hands on. So I think that those are the areas that we need to push our young people into. Definitely going back into trades so that they can have sustaining businesses and infrastructure and funding for the rest of their lives. But we definitely need to get back to doing those things that really helped us come out of slavery, put us in a better position so that we can be better. And then we can continue to move on. And even if we have to pull out, as Brother Marcus Garvey used to say, if we have to pull out, at least let us pull out with the best of the best.
Amen. Powerful, brothers. And I would just close with these thoughts. Is that we all both said something. When we see black folks be successful, when we see black folks in businesses, that gives us something happens inside of us. That dysfunctionality that's in our mind trying to convince us that we can't do this or we do that, something takes place and we break through. I know growing up in Mississippi, and I was only there for about 13 years of my life, it put in me a reality or a belief that all things were possible because I had a chance to see, like you just said, Dr. Tell, black businesses, and that included restaurants, it included funeral homes, it included dry cleaners. I mean, all of the things. Then the only thing it did not show then that we are still weak in today was in the area of manufacturing. The European has done everything he can to keep us out of manufacturing. When you look at the table of nations and when you look at the gifts of nations, you always find that where we allegedly come up short, and this is according to Dr. Julian, Walker, who is the so-called dean of black businesses globally, that we yet still today must master that art of manufacturing. Now, this is not easy. Think about what is 47 talking about? Bringing manufacturing back to America, even if it means it's going to cost the American consumer in the short run more money than they're spending right now. So that means, again, we can learn from the European. We must leverage Africa. And I just encourage all young brothers, all young sisters, if you have an entrepreneur zeal, don't forget about Africa. This is the Godfather, Mike Side, with my brothers, some cool brothers. Aren't those brothers cool? Cyber Key and Dr. William Taylor. Until next time, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share with somebody else. Make us make you better. You make us be better by sharing with someone else. Until next time, the Godfather, peace and love.